Today, I shall give you a short description of the old town of Edinburgh, which I hope will afford you some entertainment. The principal street, the High Street, is situated on the ridge, which rises gradually and terminates abruptly in a vast pile of rock on which the castle is built. The original town has been fortified, is surrounded by a wall, and the whole is guarded by the castle. The buildings in the High Street are extremely elevated, especially behind, where some are 10 or 12 stories. One is said to be 13, as they all were before a conflagration which happened in 1690. The reason the buildings are so much higher behind than towards the street is that they are situated on the edge of the hill, in order that the street might be wider. These buildings, which are here called lands, are divided by extremely thick partition walls. Every land has a common staircase, and each story of a land is called a house. As each house is occupied by a family, a land being so large contains many families that I make no manner of doubt but that the High Street in Edinburgh is inhabited by a greater number of persons than any street in Europe. The ground floors and cellars are, in general, made use of for shops by the tradesmen, who here style themselves merchants, as in France, and the higher houses are possessed by the genteeler people. The merchants here also have the horrid custom of painting on the outside of their building the figure of the commodity which is to be sold within, which, in this place, makes the oddest appearance you can conceive. For each story, perhaps from top to bottom, is checkered with 10,000 different forms and colours, that the whole resembles the stall of a fair, presenting at one view the goods of a variety of shops. They are likewise remarkably fond of glaring colours, such as red, yellow, and blue, on which the figures are painted in black. You would laugh to see a black quartern loaf displayed directly over a black full-trimmed periwig of a professor, with a Cheshire cheese and rich firkin of butter displayed in black greasiness under stays petticoats and child-bed linen. The common staircase, which leads to the apartments of the different inhabitants, must always be dirty, and it is in general very dark and narrow. It has this advantage, however, that as they are all of stone, they have little to apprehend from fire, which, in the opinion of some, would more than compensate for every other disadvantage. In London, such an habitation would not be deemed the most eligible, and many a man in such a situation would not be sorry to descend a little lower. Some years ago, a Scotch gentleman who went to London for the first time took the uppermost story of a lodging house and was very much surprised to find what he thought the genteelest place in the whole at the lowest price. His friends who came to see him in vain acquainted him with the mistake he had been guilty of, saying he kenned very weel what gentility was, and when he had lived all his life in a 6th story, he was not come to London to live upon the ground.